They don't call her Confiscation Kamala for nothing. Don't take it from us.
And I support a mandatory buyback program.
A mandatory buyback program? That means the government forcing you to turn in your firearms. To what lengths would Kamala go? Well, she doesn't even support the individual right to own a firearm.
I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country.
We get it. Sometimes it's tough to understand what she's talking about. But on the Second Amendment and your rights, Confiscation Kamala has been crystal clear. Her gun control agenda comes straight from that petri dish of bad ideas that is California. She can claim to be a gun owner all she wants, but we all know she's the same anti-gun California radical she's always been. Don't be left defenseless. Defeat Confiscation Kamala. Vote Trump like your life depends on it, because it does. NRA Political Victory Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. NRAPVF.org.
Entertaining and informative.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
77 WABC.
So earlier in the program, we spoke to Billy Premper. Billy is running the 9th Congressional District in New Jersey. And I told you that all these candidates in New Jersey are big fans of mine. They're dying to come on this show. I know that Jack Manzo over the years and talking to these different candidates like Jack Ciattarelli. So there's another guy running for governor in New Jersey. His name is Bill Spadea. He's been on before. I mentioned him earlier. And he hosts a morning show in New Jersey on 101.5, okay? So it's a pretty big deal in New Jersey. So I mentioned Bill earlier in the Premper conversation at about 6:45. Do you know that Spadea just texted me? Sid, I got listeners calling the show saying you mentioned me this morning. Happy to come back on any time, my friend. Excited for tomorrow. Let's win. So here's a guy hosting a pretty big morning show in New Jersey, and all he is excited about is that he's got callers calling him saying, Sid just mentioned you in New York. See that? See the reach there, Noam Laden?
I'm not shocked. The reach is huge. We're big in New Jersey, huge in New Jersey.
We are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like Spadea, so. We're big in Rockland County. That's where Mike Lawler is going to beat Mondaire Jones tomorrow. We're huge in Nassau County. Good morning, Sophia Perez. That's where Anthony D'Esposito is going to shellac Laura Gillen tomorrow. And according to some jackass named Will Bretterman, I talk about these guys all the time because they're my friends, and he's right. So here they are, Mike Lawler and Anthony D'Esposito. Michael, Anthony, good morning. How are you guys?
Good morning, Sid.
Good morning, Sid. How are you, brother?
I'm great. Ant, let's start with you because you woke me up on Saturday morning with your text first about this silly story in City and State, which I don't know anybody who reads that. I know Cuomo actually writes for those guys once in a while, Andrew, but I don't know anybody who reads that. I really don't, but it's out there. And this guy, Will Bretterman, so I look him up. This guy is as liberal a hack as there is. And the more I read that story, which centered upon you two guys specifically and me and John, I still can't figure out what the hell he was trying to say. Can you help me out here, Anthony?
No, neither can we. That's the problem. I mean, I think that what Mike and I have discussed is that the National Democrats must have put out a hit list of things to talk to us about or talk about, and they're just making their way down the list. And I guess this was the last one, so this guy from City and State decided to pick it up. But like you said, nobody reads it, and it doesn't even make sense. I mean, why wouldn't we put out information on one of the biggest news networks in New York?
Right, especially this show, too. I mean, clearly, after my speech at the Garden last week, all these liberal writers and stuff, they can't wait to include me in any one of their stories. And I asked you, Mike Lawler, in the airport on the way to Pennsylvania campaigning for Trump on Saturday, I said, does anybody care? Anybody read this? And you sent me a one-word answer. Nope.
No question about it. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And the fact is, obviously, we have a franked budget to communicate with our constituents about the work that we're doing. Anthony and I have communicated through mail, through radio, through digital ads, et cetera, to let constituents know about the legislation and how we can help them. And this is one of the biggest radio stations in New York. It covers both of our districts. We're both in the New York media market. Why wouldn't we advertise on and let people know about the work that we're doing? So the whole article is just idiotic, but, emblematic of the absurdity of left-wing media and the attempt to try and create a problem where there is none. But Sid, I want to tell you one thing. Growing up, my dad, my brother, and I used to watch the Rangers, the Giants, the Yankees almost religiously together. And my dad would get so angry and scream at the TV with every bad play that they would make. And one time he screamed so loud you would have thought somebody died. My mom came running down the stairs to the basement. She goes, "Kevin, what's wrong?" He's like, "They suck. They suck." And my mom goes, "Kevin, do they pay our bills?" Yeah. And he goes, "No." And she goes, "Do we own the team?" He goes, "No." She goes, "Then shut the F up."
Well, you know what? That's very reminiscent, Mike, of Chaz Palminteri's line in the movie A Bronx Tale. When he says to Little C, he goes, Mickey Mantle doesn't care. But, look, again, I worked at WFAN. I work at sports stations down in Miami for the better part of 11 years. My life was sports talk radio. My job was to come on Monday morning and be upset or happy or furious after a team lost. But the reason why I'm in this business now is I started to add more politics because I just couldn't do it. I couldn't be upset about a giant loss when tomorrow is the biggest election maybe in the history of the country. So I guess, Anthony, what I'm trying to say is no disrespect to Boomer Esiason or WFAN or other folks, but at some point you got to grow up. And who cares about a football game yesterday when the future of this country is on the line tomorrow? Is that not a fair statement?
No, Sid, it is fair. But what's sad is that because we've had almost 4 years of disastrous policies with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, because we've had one-party rule here in New York State, it is a shame that people like you can't focus on sports, but we need to turn our energy to politics and government because we need to continue to fight what a mess Democrats have made of this great nation and our great state.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You're right. It would be nice if I could actually concentrate on that stuff, but you just can't do it. So I want to get to both of you guys about the Trump race and then, more importantly, your own races. Mike, let me get to Trump. Right now, there's a dead heat is what most of the polls are saying. It's a dead heat, and it may very well end up what happens in Pennsylvania, where I was this weekend, may in fact give us the winner of tomorrow's election. It's very, very close. I talked to Trump supporters. They think he's going to win. I talked to Harris supporters. They think she's going to win. What do you think happens tomorrow, Mike Lawler?
Look, I think Donald Trump is going to be elected the 47th president of the United States. If you look at 2016, Trump won by 80,000 votes in 3 states. In 2020, he lost by 40,000 votes in 3 states. Republicans are turning out at a higher clip than they ever have during early voting, including here in New York. The numbers are off the charts. You look at states like Pennsylvania. When Donald Trump won back in 2016, Democrats had a 1 million-plus voter enrollment advantage. They're now down to about 300,000, less than 300,000 voter enrollment advantage in Pennsylvania. I think Donald Trump is poised for a big win. As Anthony just pointed out, Kamala Harris has created an absolute disaster across this country, from the affordability crisis to the crisis at our southern border to the international crises, including the threats against the state of Israel, in which, she said, "Don't go into Rafah. I saw the maps." If Bibi listened to her, Sinwar would still be alive.
That's right.
Kamala Harris is an absolute disaster for this country on policy. This is purely about policy. It's not about personality. It's not about the politics. It is very much about the policy.
Yep.
And listen, after they've thrown everything they can at Donald Trump, from indictments to convictions to assassination attempts to trying to bankrupt him, the fact that she's not up by 10 points like Joe Biden was in the polls 4 years ago, speaks volumes. And Trump is polling better than he did in 2020 or 2016. Republicans are voting early, which they did not do in 2020. And I think we're going to have a big win tomorrow. And not only that, we're going to keep the House and grow it. Anthony's going to win. I'm going to win. Mark Molinaro's going to win. Nick LaLota, Brennan Williams. And equally as important, we're going to flip the Senate and send Chuck Schumer back to Brooklyn. This guy is an absolute disgrace, telling Columbia University, keep your head down. Don't worry about the anti-Semitism. It's just a Republican problem. That is freaking shameful.
He's despicable. I saw some idiot Democrat who was a friend of mine. I blocked him on Facebook yesterday say, hey, I'm voting for Harris. This idea the Democrat Party are a bunch of anti-Semites. Yes, I'll give you the squad, but there are so many of us that are pro-Israel. Look at Chuck Schumer. Look at Chuck Schumer, you moron. Lawler just said what Chuck Schumer is. By the way, to add to what you just said, Mike, not only would Sinwar still be alive, but 5 hostages, including the lovely Noah Argamani, would still be in Gaza. Noah getting raped every day. Let me get to Anthony D'Esposito. Lawler said Trump is going to win tomorrow. Anthony D'Esposito, what do you think?
I agree with Mike. I mean, listen, we speak, all of our us New Yorkers are on a group text all day. We chat back and forth about what we're feeling in our districts. I mean, take my district. In 2020, Trump lost my district by 16.5 points. We haven't had one poll that has Trump less than even. And to Mike's point, early voting, Republicans have embraced it. But what's also important is that it's new Republican voters that have embraced early voting. And we've seen that our normal presidential Republican voters still haven't come out yet, which means tomorrow there's going to be record numbers of Republicans at the polls that are going to put us over the edge. I mean, here in Nassau County, in a county where there's close to over 100,000 more Democrats than Republicans, we are right neck and neck, registration-wise, Republicans to Democrats in early voting. That's telling the story. We are going to have a big victory tomorrow. You're going to see, I would argue, at least 60 to 65% of the independents swing our way, if not more. And there's going to be a handful of Democrats that they feel like their party has gone away from them, and they're going to come our way as well. And I think that the numbers tomorrow night are going to be indicative of President Trump going back to the White House, us maintaining the House of Representatives and growing our majority, especially here in New York. And like Mike said, flipping the Senate and sending Chuck back to Brooklyn to cook cheeseburgers.
Yeah, two great young men right here. Mike Lawler, the king of Rockland County. Anthony D'Esposito, the king of Nassau County. My great son, my beautiful son, Gabriel, is on his school bus right now listening. He said, Daddy, I'm listening, and he loves both of you guys too. So, Gabe, have a great day at school. Gabriel also very in tune to what's going on. My whole family is Danielle, Ava, Gabe. And I'm not going to say who they're voting for. 2 of them, of course, one of them is still too young to vote, Gabriel, but he certainly has a choice in this race. Hey, Mike, let's get to your race in Rockland County. Mondaire Jones, bad guy. Bottom line, wanted deep on the police, not a pro-Israel guy, not even in the least. I've heard people refer to him allegedly as a racist, as an anti-Israel guy. And somehow in Rockland County, which has a very big Orthodox community, somehow he was able to stay in this race. And some thought it was very, very close. How do you feel about your race coming up tomorrow?
Well, Sid, after our second debate, my wife watched it with my 2.5-year-old, and my wife asked my 2.5-year-old, what did you think of Mondaire Jones? And my 2.5-year-old says, disgusting. The fact is, when my 2.5-year-old knows how bad he is on policy and how much he's lied throughout this campaign, it speaks volumes. Look, this is a radical far-left extremist. He supported defunding the police, cashless bail, open borders. He wanted to give blanket amnesty to criminal aliens. He wanted cop killers and rapists the right to vote from prison. He supports, AOC and the squad, voted with them over 98% of the time, supports the Green New Deal and government-run health care. He would be an absolute disaster for this district and for Congress. We saw what he did in one term. He was absolutely useless. He shut his office down, ran to Brooklyn, said, I never felt more at home than I do in Brooklyn. Well, I have news for him. After Tuesday, he can move back to Brooklyn and hang out with Chuck Schumer, because the fact is he is a disaster for this country. and for this district. I feel very good. We got one day more to go, and we just need everybody to get out and vote. Turnout so far through early voting has been record levels, including low-propensity Republicans are coming out at a significantly higher clip than low-propensity Democrats. So I feel very good where we are. The polls had me up by 5 points in the last public poll. Internal polls had us up even bigger. I think we're going to have a strong win on Tuesday night, along with Anthony and Mark and all of us here in New York. So we just need everybody to get out and vote and make sure that you know where to go. If you're in my district, go to lawlervote.com and make sure you find your polling place. Get out and exercise your right. Tomorrow is going to be one of the most important days in the history of our country.
Just saw your base on New York One. It was funny. District 17, Lawler versus Mondaire Jones. Now they're showing LaPetrie and Swazi. Now they've gone to George Latimer and Miriam Flisser. Let me get to you, Anthony, my dear friend out of Nassau County. The Haskell family says they are with you 100%. That brave, 9/11, courageous Haskell family. And look, your race, it got ugly. She ran some very, very nasty ads about you, my friend. It pissed me off, to be honest. But she did. Laura Gillen got down and dirty with you. She went low. She went lower. But that didn't matter. You stuck to the policies. You stuck to the issues that made you successful a couple of years ago. And you seem primed, like Mike Lawler, to win big tomorrow. But you'd have to admit, Laura Gillen did get a bit ugly in this race.
Yeah, she has, because that's all she knows how to do. She couldn't run on any policies or any plans for the future of this district or this country because she has none. She will just be a rubber stamp for whatever the radical Democrats tell her. And that's the thing. Just like the commercials have pissed you off, they've pissed off 4th Congressional District neighbors as well. I talk to people that say, I'm a lifelong Democrat, and the commercials that Gillen has been running are absolutely disgusting. I mean, think about it, Sid. When the Democrats spend over $30 million against me, and not one commercial, not one ad talks about policy, talks about plans, talks about the ability to build coalitions, to work well with others, to get things done. Every ad has been a personal attack. So it's clear. I ran on issues 2 years ago, and I delivered on those issues. I delivered close to $30 million back to the district. I worked with Mike Lawler and others, and in a bipartisan fashion. I was ranked the 11th most bipartisan member of Congress. Why? Because we wanted to get things done. We all made promises to our neighbors that we would do everything and anything and work with anyone and everyone to deliver for me, Long Island, but more importantly for New York State. And we've done that. And the fact that, you have a governor who is completely ineffective and couldn't be more separated from reality, from actual everyday working New Yorkers. I mean, to go out there and say if you're voting Republican, you're anti-women and you're anti-American. Listen, there's an old saying, Republicans who stay home on Election Day elect Democrats. Like Mike said, we need to do everything we can over the next day to get every Republican out to vote. There is no question. Some of these races are going to come down to, could be hundreds of votes, and it's all about getting the people out to vote, and that's what we're going to focus on.
What time, guys, do you think Will Bretterman has the next city and state piece in this afternoon saying Lawler and D'Esposito are back with Rosenberg again?
I'm sure he's tweeting as we speak, having a meltdown.
He's such an idiot. Listen, I'm going to wish you guys good luck. I don't think you need it. I think you're both primed for big wins tomorrow. Anthony D'Esposito out in Nassau County. Mike Lawler there in Rockland County. You two guys are great. You're great men, but you're great politicians. And I believe you represent the bright future of this Republican Party and hope for our country along with Donald Trump. So, gentlemen, good luck tomorrow. We'll speak on Wednesday when you both win. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Good.
Sid, I just want to leave you with one thing, because me, you, and Lawler are true friends and true fighters for Israel. I just got an email from the gentleman who runs international affairs for the city of David, and he said this, and I want to share it. He said, be strong and of good courage on behalf of our nation and the cities of our God, and God will do what in good his eyes. So let's do it and let's win.
That's awesome. Thank you, Anthony. That was terrific. Anthony and Michael, love both you guys. And both of these guys, not just great Americans, but both Anthony and Michael, very, very pro-Israel, which, of course, touches my heart. Great job.